Beautiful. Now that's a word I feel I've overused lately when it comes to PNSO reviews. From the Corythosaurus, to the Lambiosaurus, to the Pachyrhinosaurus, to the Spinosaurus and more, each has its own beauty and majesty. However, while there are some who would probably call me crazy, I think that most people would at least understand my madness when applied to today's dinosaur. Now this is the PNSO Rosana, the Miragaia. Now Miragaia was named after the village of Miragaia, but I wonder if PNSO was a little inspired by what the name literally means. Mira meaning wonderful and Gaia meaning goddess of the earth. So you could imagine from the generosity of wonderful earth goddess, this flowery beauty springs forth. Because the most striking thing about this model are the beautiful plates, and both shape and color recalls the beautiful petals of a flower. Now this is actually a bold speculation. See, frustratingly, the holotype ML433 is missing the rear half of the body, and we only have the front 13 plates. There was an isolated spike, which was reasoned to be from the rear half. I should also mention that there is an ML433A, which is a juvenile specimen that's also attributed to Miragaia, which does include both pubes and left ilium. And work is underway on MG4863, a possible Rosetta Stone fossil that could further flesh out Miragaia and differentiate it from closely related stegosaurs like Das and Trurus. But generally, reconstructions have looked like this, with rather modest plates and a conservative tegomizer. You know, the really weird thing is I could have sworn I have a Carnegie Miragaia somewhere, but when I hunted for it to do a comparison to this model, it's nowhere to be found. And interestingly, PNSO has done a Miragaia before for the Age of the Dinosaurs line, but you can see that followed a more modest design. Well, there's absolutely nothing modest about what PNSO has done here. And to complement the shape and form, we have a beautiful paint job. A dandelion of butter yellow, tipped with a darker brown or perhaps a burnt orange, and then downwards segueing into a perhaps what you might call a goldfish orange near the base. And you can see how beautifully the colors are faded into each other. The overall feel is just so sunny and positive, and it reminds me of flowers like the sunflower or the Gerbera daisy. I absolutely love how they've continued this scheme all the way down to the tegomizer. So what you have here is an incredibly beautiful array. Now, not only does it look stunning from the side, if you look at it from an angle, you can see how beautiful the staggering of the rows look like. And not to mention, because of the shadows one row will cast on the other, you now have even more variation of shade. And even from the top, just look at this. Beautiful. Now I want to give credit to a picture I saw by Ashley Patch on DeviantArt, which also went with this idea. So either there was some collaboration behind the scenes or just some convergence of ideas, well, I don't know. But this model is a manifestation of how that wonderful drawing might look like in 3D. The plates and spikes are so striking, it almost threatens to overshadow the rest to mediocrity. But if we can just take our eyes off those plates for a bit, we can see that the texture and detail on the rest is of similarly high quality, which is great because that means this isn't a one-trick pony. Now first, I love how when we get to the body, there is a very definite orange hue here, which gives cohesiveness to the generally yellow-orange theme of this animal. And then it transitions down to the main body color. And while we're here, just look at how beautifully textured the body is. peppered with these irregularly spaced scutes. And the belly has that chainmail pattern we've seen in other PNSO dinosaurs. And back up to the sides, I just love these markings. They almost remind me of what we saw in the PNSO Machairoceratops, but it seems to be faded even more naturally into the skin than this one. Going up the neck to the head, you can really appreciate the differences in scale type, and especially here in the arm and ossicles of the neck and throat. The head is similarly detailed, and I really like that they've added that characteristic downturn mandible, just as you see in the fossil. Now this looks like a good point to do my customary in-hand versus product image comparison. So let's have a look. Now the skin coloration is really good, and it seems that while the original product image seems to have a generally greener hue, the actual model has gone with a more orangey one. Now likewise with the plates and spikes, there isn't any discrepancy in quality, but again it's just the color palette that's changed. So while the image is of a generally cool palette, this model has gone with something generally warmer. Let's talk about what's really unusual about Miragaia, at least what we do know for a fact, its long neck. Now this would seem to be a stegosaur that decided to experiment with being a sauropod by evolving a neck far longer than that of its other low-feeling family members. Now Miragaia has 17 cervical vertebrae, which is only 2 less than Mamencisaurus. And in fact, if I cover the spines, it almost looks like a basal sauropod. However, I've also heard theories that sexual selection was a driver, and these theories seem to be quite strong. And if correct, it would seem that having something long is desirable not just with humans. Animals can evolve longer necks in 3 ways. Option 1. A real increase in the number of cervical elements. For example, basal sauropods have 12, while Mamencisaurids have up to 19. Option number 2. You can lengthen individual vertebrae. For example, the giraffe has as many cervical vertebrae as we do, but each is an impressive 10 inches. Option 3. Incorporate dorsal vertebrae into the neck, a process called cervicalization, in which you rob from Peter the dorsal here to pay Paul the cervical over here. Now, we think that Miragaia went with lengthening individual vertebrae, but also cervicalization, because primitive stegosaurs like Huayangsaurus has 16 dorsal vertebrae and 9 cervical vertebrae. And when it comes to Stegosaurus, which is more advanced, this has reduced to 13 dorsal vertebrae, while the cervicals had increased to 13. Now we can't know for sure in Miragaia because we're missing the rear half, so we can't count the number of dorsal vertebrae. Of course, in the PNSO model, this very real point of interest is easily overshadowed by the speculative array of plates. But I hope that when you get your model, you'll be able to appreciate this long neck feature too. And finally, I just love the whole pose. Now this kind of a tentative step forward look hints at caution, but also a daintiness that mirrors the flowery form established by the plates. And very nice ankles too. Rosana is indeed a lady. At an estimated 6 meters, which is 20 feet, this 21 centimeter model, which is about 8.3 inches, means that that's about a 1 to 28 scale. So it's very close to my 1 to 30th estimate for Tuotiangsaurus. Let's bring the two together. Wow, just beautiful. You know, the quality matches so closely. With Tuotiangsaurus, I wish they'd done the bases more like this, but it's a small issue. What I really hope now is they reduce Stegosaurus in the same quality. The Beaver Stegosaurus was way below par, and I think Stegosaurus, giving its name to this magnificent group, deserves a lot better. I don't even mind if they want to use Sophie's proportions instead. Just please give us a Stegosaurus that matches these. So, there we are. Yet another beautiful offering from PNSO. Really, PNSO is burning a hole in my pocket, and with these dinosaurs leading up to Christmas, I can honestly say this is the first time I feel like I've been giving myself a very early Christmas, and not just a one-off, but a 12 days of Christmas kind of giving. So here's to many more. In the meantime, let me wish you guys a very Merry Christmas, and I hope you enjoy time with your family and feasting on that turkey.